Before a phone could take a photograph, before Instagram, and before most homes owned a computer, an engineer inside Kodak built the future. It was 1975. His camera weighed about 8 pounds and captured a black and white image only 100 pixels wide. Nearly 4 decades later, that same company entered bankruptcy protection. Yo, welcome back to billion-dollar Autopsy. Kodak invented the digital camera, then went bankrupt. What killed the company that saw the future first? Let's open the case. Saw it before almost anyone. The mystery is not why Kodak missed the future. It is why the company that invented it could not survive it. For most of the 20th century, Kodak was not merely a camera company. It was the plumbing of everyday memory. Birthdays, holidays, weddings, school trips, and soldiers returning home all passed through a system Kodak had learned to monetize at several points. A family bought a camera once. Then it bought film again and again. Each exposed roll had to be developed. Each photograph could be printed, copied, enlarged, and placed in an album. The camera opened the door, but the consumables kept the cash moving. This was the elegant power of the model. Kodak did not need every customer to buy a new camera every year. It needed millions of customers to keep pressing the shutter. Every click created another small obligation to buy film and processing. The company sold chemistry, paper, machines, distribution, and trust. Its yellow boxes were familiar almost everywhere. When people said a moment was a Kodak moment, the brand had become a verb for preserving life itself. And that success matters because the stronger this machine became, the more dangerous it felt to replace. Inside that empire, a young electrical engineer named Steven Sasson was asked to experiment with a new kind of electronic sensor. The assignment did not sound like the beginning of a revolution. Yet by December 1975, Sasson and his colleagues had assembled a self-contained digital camera from available parts. It used a lens from a Super 8 movie camera, batteries, digital circuitry, and a cassette system to store an image. The prototype was awkward, slow, and enormous by modern standards, but it worked. Light entered the lens, became an electronic signal, and emerged as a photograph without a strip of film. That last phrase contained the threat: without film. The invention did not simply promise a better camera. It removed the product around which Kodak's entire commercial system revolved. A rough prototype is not a ready market, of course. In 1975, the components were expensive, the image crude, and the supporting world barely existed. Kodak was not foolish for refusing to abandon film overnight. The important point is different. The company understood extraordinarily early that photography could become electronic. The future was not hidden from Kodak. It was demonstrated inside Kodak. This is where the familiar version of the story usually becomes too simple. Kodak, we are told, invented the digital camera and then ignored it. That makes a satisfying parable because it gives us a single obvious mistake. But Kodak did not spend the next 30 years pretending digital did not exist. The company conducted research, accumulated patents, built electronic imaging systems, and eventually sold digital cameras. It experimented with products intended to bridge the old world and the new. The problem was not total blindness, it was divided commitment. Kodak wanted the growth of digital photography without the destruction of film economics. It wanted customers to enjoy electronic convenience while the company preserved profitable printing, processing, and consumables. That desire was understandable. It was also increasingly impossible. A transition is easiest when the new product rewards the same capabilities and the same profit engine as the old one. Digital photography did the opposite. It changed the components, the competitors, the speed of innovation, the way pictures were stored, and the moments at which money changed hands. Kodak could participate in digital and still lose the structure that made Kodak powerful. Imagine two businesses inside the same company. The first sells an affordable device that creates years of repeat purchases. Its factories are mature, its distribution is global, and managers can forecast demand from decades of habit. The second sells an expensive electronic device whose price falls quickly, whose components improve every year, and whose photographs require no film at all. Which business protects this quarter's earnings? The first. Which business determines whether the company survives the next 20 years? The second, Kodak had to finance the future with profits earned by the system that future was destroying. Every serious digital investment could look like an attack on a better margin business. Every delay could look prudent in the present and catastrophic in retrospect. This is the perfect profit trap. A company measures new opportunities using the standards of the old machine. The new business appears smaller, messier, and less profitable, precisely because it has not yet become the market. By the time the numbers make the choice obvious, competitors have learned, customers have moved, and the internal bridge is far more expensive to build. Kodak tried to build bridges. Some products combined electronic capture with physical prints. Others helped professional customers manipulate or transfer images. The company invested in kiosks so consumers could bring digital files into stores and leave with paper photographs. This strategy was not irrational. People understood prints, retailers already had space, and Kodak knew color and imaging better than almost anyone. But a bridge has a hidden requirement. The far side must support the company that crosses it. Kodak's bridges often carried digital photographs back into the old printing economy. Meanwhile, the market was learning to value something else, immediacy. A picture could be reviewed at once, deleted without cost, copied perfectly, sent across a computer, and stored without an envelope. The number of photographs a person could take was no longer limited by a roll of film. That changed behavior faster than it changed corporate accounting. Kodak could count prints. It was harder to price the value of a photograph that moved through software, screens, and networks. The center of photography was beginning to migrate away from chemistry and toward computation. Kodak could sell digital cameras and still be losing. In the new market, hardware companies, electronics specialists, and later phone makers competed on sensors, processors, screens, batteries, software, and design cycles. A successful model could become outdated within a year. Prices fell as performance rose. Market share did not automatically create the kind of profit Kodak had enjoyed from film. This produced a brutal strategic question. Was Kodak trying to become the best digital imaging company? Or was it trying to make digital photography feed the old Kodak system? Those goals overlapped for a while, but not forever. The old company had been organized around manufacturing excellence, chemical science, and physical distribution. The emerging leaders combined electronics with software and, eventually, networks. Kodak possessed real technical knowledge, but knowledge is not the same as an organization built to turn it into a new habit. A company can win a product ranking and still lose the ecosystem. It can sell millions of units while the source of durable value moves somewhere else. The yellow brand remained famous. The economic gravity beneath it was changing. Then the decline stopped being theoretical. Each digital camera sold represented photographs that might never touch a roll of film. Each improvement in storage made experimentation cheaper. Each computer screen made a print less necessary. The old loop began to break at several points at once. Camera, film, development, print, digital capture removed the film. Home computers reduced the need for processing. Sharing reduced the need for paper. Later, smartphones removed the separate camera from many ordinary moments. Kodak was not facing one substitute. It was watching an entire chain of paid transactions collapse into a single electronic action. That is why the transition was so severe. In the analog system, preserving a memory required Kodak's industrial infrastructure. In the digital system, creating another photograph approached zero marginal cost for the user. People responded exactly as we would expect. They took far more pictures and paid far less for each one. Photography exploded as a behavior while Kodak's traditional economics contracted. More photographs did not mean more Kodak. Technology changed quickly. Organizations changed slowly. The factories, laboratories, sales relationships, performance targets, and careers inside Kodak had been built for the analog world. That does not mean the people inside were incapable of understanding digital. It means every major shift redistributed power. A digital future changed which divisions grew, which facilities mattered, which expertise commanded budgets, and which familiar numbers could no longer guide decisions. Strategy diagrams make transformation look clean. In practice, transformation asks successful people to weaken the system that made them successful. It asks a company to move resources away from reliable cash flows toward uncertain ones. It asks managers to explain lower profits today in exchange for survival that cannot yet be measured. Those pressures do not require a conspiracy. They emerge naturally from incentives. Kodak's problem was therefore larger than a hidden prototype or a missed product launch. It was an identity problem. Was the company in the business of film, prints, and chemistry, or was it in the business of helping people capture and share images by any means? The second definition sounds obvious now. At the time, it threatened almost everything that produced the first definition's profits. As digital photography matured, the valuable moment moved. Under the old system, value appeared when a customer bought film, developed a roll, and ordered prints. Under the new system, value could appear in the device, the software, the storage service, the editing tool, or the network where a picture was shared. The photograph stopped being a final physical object and became data moving between systems. That change rewarded companies with different instincts. Electronics firms improved devices. Software firms improved workflows. Internet companies turned images into communication. Phone makers placed a camera in a product people already carried all day. Kodak had touched many parts of digital imaging, but it did not control the new center. The customer relationship was moving from the photo counter toward the screen. Once that happened, Kodak's famous brand no longer guaranteed that a new photograph would pass through a Kodak transaction. The company still possessed pieces of the future. It did not possess the place where those pieces were becoming a habit. On January 19, 2012, Eastman Kodak announced that it had filed for Chapter 11 protection in the United States. The word protection matters. Chapter 11 is designed to give a company room to reorganize while it continues operating, but the symbolism was impossible to miss. One of the most recognizable names in photography had entered bankruptcy court in the year photographs were becoming more abundant than ever. Kodak's invention had not failed. Digital photography had won beyond anything the 1975 prototype could demonstrate. What failed was Kodak's attempt to carry its old economic power into that victory. The company still had technology, employees, customers, and intellectual property. It did not have a consumer business model strong enough to replace the film system at the scale and speed required. The bankruptcy was not one sudden explosion. It was the legal frame around a long erosion, profitable transactions disappearing, assets losing relevance, and time running out. Then came one final piece of evidence. During the restructuring, Kodak agreed to sell a portfolio of digital imaging patents for approximately $525 million. The number is large enough to prove the inventions mattered. It is also small enough to expose the difference between owning intellectual property and owning a market. A patent can describe a mechanism. It cannot guarantee the organization product experience, distribution, software, or customer habit needed to turn that mechanism into lasting power. Kodak had helped write the technical language of digital photography. Other companies captured more of the economic territory around it. The patent sale was therefore not proof that Kodak had been foolish to invest in digital. It was proof that invention alone was never the full game. Knowledge survived as an asset even after strategic control had slipped away. The company could sell pieces of the future it had helped create, but it could not sell its way back into the center of that future. The timing produced an extraordinary contrast. In April 2012, only months after Kodak entered Chapter 11, Facebook announced an agreement to acquire Instagram for approximately $1 billion in cash and share. The comparison must be used carefully. Instagram and Kodak were different companies. The announced prices represented different things, and one figure does not explain the other. But as a symbol of where photographic value had moved, the moment is difficult to ignore. Kodak had spent a century helping people preserve memories as physical objects. Instagram was building a network in which photographs became instant social communication. One company owned factories, chemistry, paper, and a famous name. The other organized attention around images on phones. The camera had not disappeared. It had dissolved into a connected system. The most valuable question was no longer only who makes the image. It was also, where does the image go? Who sees it and what does the user do next? Kodak had invented electronic capture. The new winners controlled the experience after capture. So what killed Kodak's consumer empire? Not one hidden camera, not one stupid decision, and not a complete refusal to enter digital. The first cause was economic dependence. Kodak's best profits came from repeated film and processing purchases that digital photography removed. The second was organizational conflict. The people, assets, and measurements built for the old system made decisive self-disruption painfully difficult. The third was a moving center of value. Photography became electronics, then software, then a networked behavior. Kodak entered parts of that future, but it did not establish control over the new customer habit. The fourth was timing. A company can understand a trend and still move too slowly for the rate at which the market compounds. These causes reinforced one another. Protecting film delayed a cleaner digital identity. The delay strengthened new competitors. Their growth weakened Kodak's cache engine. A weaker cache engine made transformation harder. By the time bankruptcy arrived, the future Kodak had once demonstrated was everywhere. Kodak's power inside it was not. Kodak's lesson is more unsettling than the usual warning to watch for disruption. Watching is not enough. Inventing is not enough. Even selling the new product may not be enough. A company must understand which parts of its value will survive, which will vanish, and where the customer relationship is moving. It must be willing to build a future whose early numbers look worse than the past, because the past has had decades to become efficient. Most importantly, it must define itself by the problem it solves, not by the product that once solved it. Kodak preserved memories. Film was one extraordinarily profitable way to do that. When the method changed, the mission could have remained. But missions only matter when budgets, incentives, and authority follow them. Otherwise, a company can own the first prototype, recognize the threat, launch products, and still discover that the future has formed around someone else. This was Case File 5 Kodak. The company invented digital photography, but it could not replace the profit machine that digital photography destroyed. Case closed. If this autopsy changed how you see disruption, like the video and subscribe for the next case file. Every fortune leaves evidence.